Lesson 82 is about volume of a rectangular prism. And our first question says, how many 1-inch sugar cubes would be needed to fill this Rubik's Cube? Now a Rubik's Cube, well, it's made up of faces that are like squares, and a square is just a special type of rectangle. So if we look at this, how many 1-inch sugar cubes would be needed to fill this Rubik's Cube? Well, this is a nice picture to look at because you can see on top, if we use our arrow button, that there's one Rubik's Cube here. Well, there's one piece that makes up our Rubik's Cube here. We could call this one sugar cube, then a second sugar cube, a third sugar cube. We can see there's another row of 3, so that's 6 sugar cubes, and another row of 3, so that's a total of 9 sugar cubes on top. We know that there are 3 total rows, so 9 times 3, that must be equal to 27 sugar cubes. And we've got our answer. Now, we could also look at this in a different way. Not all rectangular prisms look like a Rubik's Cube, like a shoebox is an example of another rectangular prism. So another way we could find out what the volume would be, or how many 1-inch sugar cubes there would be to say, well, there's 3 going to the side, there's 3 up and down, and then there's 3 working back and forth. So we could say 3 times 3 times 3 to figure out what our answer is going to be. That's another way to find our volume. Let's look at another example. What is the volume of the right rectangular prism below? And for rectangular, we don't need another A in there, so we can erase that. The rectangular prism below, okay, if we want to find out the volume of this, what we need to do is we need to figure out how many sugar cubes could fit. And the easiest way to figure out the volume of a right rectangular prism is to multiply. And we're going to multiply the length times the width times the depth. Now the length is our long side, that's 6 inches. So if our length is 6 inches, we're going to multiply 6 inches times our width. Our width in this problem, well, our width in this problem is 4 inches. So 4 inches times our depth, and our depth is how far back it goes. That must be 2 inches. So we can go ahead and multiply the numbers first. We've got 6 times 4. Well, that's 24. And we're going to multiply 24 times 2 to get our answer of 48. We need to have a label for this. And here we have inches times inches times inches. So that must be inches to the 3rd power, since we have 3 of them that we multiplied. And we've got our answer. An alternative way we could write inches to the 3rd power would be to say 48 cubic inches. And we've got our final answer. Whichever method you prefer, you're welcome to use when you use your label. Inches to the 3rd power is exactly the same thing as cubic inches. In order to find the volume of any right rectangular prism, and cubes are included with this, would be the length times the width times the depth. And we want to be sure that we report our answer in cubic units, and in this case our unit was inches. So we're all done. We can move on to our next problem. Our next questions will be during our lesson practice next class, page 442. Make sure you've got your notes complete, and I'll see you during our next class.